Unfortunately, we've learned that many seniors may not fully appreciate the implications of selling their life insurance policy to someone who's purchasing it for investment purposes. For instance, it's possible that seniors may lose the ability to obtain life insurance in the future. They may lose certain tax benefits, and they may find that certain personal information about their health is being shared with and monitored by strangers. On the other side of the transaction, investors may not have a complete understanding of the investment risks associated with a life settlement policy, including the risks related to the health and life expectancy of the insured. The growth in the life settlements market, the potential harm that could come to seniors from aggressive and unscrupulous actors, and the emerging prospect of the securitization of life settlements caused us to establish an SEC task force on life settlements. And our task force is already meeting with outside representatives to understand the range of issues presented by this market. We're also working with fellow regulators to figure out whether there's sufficient regulation of this market and whether any gaps exist. The fact is we need to be out in front as much as we can on this issue so that seniors who sell their policy and those who may invest in securitized pools of life settlements are well protected as this market grows. Now, enforcement activity, although we're very proud of it and actively engaged in it, that alone will not fully restore investor confidence. Curtailing fraud is critical, but just as critical is curtailing industry practices that do not put the interests of the investor first. And this is particularly important as an ever-increasing percentage of America's workers are relying on their own investment decisions to fund their retirements. And the statistics surely bear this out. During the 3 decades between 1975 and 2005, the number of active participants in traditional defined benefit plans dropped from 26 million to 21 million. Meanwhile, those who actively participated in defined contribution plans increased 5-fold, from 11 million to 55 million. In my view, financial service firms need to engage in responsible product development in the retirement market. Barraging investors with retirement products that feature the latest financial gimmick or marketable fad will not ultimately serve investors' interests. America's future retirees deserve products that they can understand and evaluate. This means that complex fee arrangements or product descriptions should be discarded in favor of simple, clear disclosure. Our future retirees should have access to products that will help them meet their retirement goals without imposing inappropriate risks. Products offering enhanced leverage and avant-garde investment techniques may be appealing to speculators, but they shouldn't be in the portfolio of our retirees and those seeking security in retirement. In addition, extolling the eye-popping results of the short-term performance of certain investment products without focusing on the long-term implications or risks can result in disappointed investors and potentially angry plaintiffs, not to mention an SEC prepared to be aggressive in enforcing the investor protection rules. These types of disclosures, product development, and marketing issues surrounding retirement products will be areas of focus in the coming year for those of us at the Commission. The burden imposed on those invested for retirement is already significant, especially after the market events of the last year, and we must be committed to assisting them in being prepared for retirement. Another area of particular focus is target date funds, which are products specifically designed for the retirement market. These funds and other similar investment options are financial products that allocate their investments among various asset classes. And as the target date approaches, these funds automatically shift that allocation to more conservative investments. This set it and forget it approach of target date funds is very appealing to investors, especially for retirement investors who are overwhelmed by more complicated investment options. In fact, in 2007, immediately before the market turned down, nearly 10% of 401k assets were in target date funds, and those numbers will inevitably grow because 70% of U.S. employers now use the target date fund as their default investment option. And in some sense, this isn't surprising. Target date funds, after all, were expected to make retirement investing easier by eliminating the need for investors to constantly monitor market movements and realign their personal investment allocations. But the performance of these funds over the last year was really quite surprising. It's been reported that the average loss in 2008 among 31 funds that had a 2010 target date was almost 25%. But even more surprising were their widely varying performance results. In 2008, target date funds for 2010 suffered losses of as little as 4% or as much as 40%, all funds with the exact same target date. So I share the concerns of many investors who are surprised by these results, and particularly the wide disparity of returns for funds with that same target date. And in fact, these concerns led us to hold a joint hearing with the Department of Labor earlier this year. And now we're currently focusing on the use of the target date in the fund's name and how the meaning of that date and the nature of the fund's investments can be better communicated to investors. We're also closely reviewing advertising, marketing materials, and related disclosure to determine whether investors are getting accurate messages about their target date funds. Our focus on retirement investing, however, is not limited to specific products. We're also committed to, and we all have to be committed to, enhancing our financial literacy efforts. Earlier this month, I named a new head of our investor education office, which I believe can play a significant role in empowering investors planning for retirement. Lori Schock, who I know has worked with some of you in her previous positions at the SEC, is returning and already getting more feedback from investors and user research-based findings to enhance our investor education program. And that cannot happen too soon. According to one survey, only 44% of workers or their spouses have taken the time to estimate their financial needs for retirement. And nearly one-half of retirees have left the workforce before they've done any planning at all. So it is particularly important for the SEC and other groups to reach individuals at or near retirement and give them effective tools and materials to make informed financial decisions. In the coming weeks, our education efforts will begin work on a soup-to-nuts financial handbook with an emphasis on research-supported information on key financial decisions during various life stages, including saving for and managing money during retirement and strategies for avoiding fraud. In approaching this project, we'll try to make critical information and tools in these areas as accessible and as possible to reach investors of all ages. And today, we're launching a new website, investor.gov, that is entirely investor-focused with a dedicated section for seniors. It's a site that pulls from the vast body of existing materials at the SEC and reshapes it to be more reader-friendly and usable. All of these initiatives, as well as all the other items on our agenda, take significant resources, especially for an agency of 3,700 people, and especially for an agency whose staff size and budget for investments in technology are significantly less than they were in 2005. And that's why, in addition to leveraging third parties, I've been advocating for significantly more resources and staff at the SEC. We've seen large ups and downs in our budget over the past 10 years, making it difficult to do long-term planning, develop adequate technology, or have a sustained commitment in areas like investor education. In my view, it's critical that if the SEC is to become the kind of regulatory agency that the American people have a right to expect, we have sufficient, stable, long-term funding. So in short, I'm committed to using all the resources at my disposal and relying on whatever additional resources I can get to tackle investor fraud among the elderly. By rooting out fraud, incentivizing whistleblowers, pressing for understandable retirement-oriented products, and enhancing our financial literacy program, we can make it harder for the next fraudster to succeed, and we can clear up the climate of confusion that so many investors face today.